Welcome to my YouTube channel USA Coins Value. And here's something that might shock you. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Most people spend their coins every single day without realizing that one tiny piece of metal in their collection could completely transform their life. And today I'm going to show you exactly why collectors around the world are losing their minds over certain coins that seem completely ordinary at first glance. The 2000 AD Jefferson nickel is one of those legendary coins that most people have never heard of. But once you understand its true value, you'll never look at your spare change the same way again. And before we dive into the incredible story behind this particular coin, I have to tell you something that might seem absolutely impossible. This single nickel is worth $600 million. Yes, you heard that right. $600 million for a coin that weighs just 5 grams and was produced at the Denver Mint over 15 years ago. Now, I know what you're thinking. This seems insane. How could a simple nickel possibly be worth that much money? And the answer lies in one of the most fascinating stories in numismatic history, a story filled with rare mint errors, limited production runs, and the incredible pursuit by collectors who have dedicated their entire lives to finding pieces like this. The 2000 AD Jefferson nickel represents more than just currency. It represents opportunity, history, and the possibility that fortune could be hiding right inside your piggy bank, your old jars, or your grandmother's coin collection gathering dust in an attic somewhere. And I'm here to tell you everything about why this particular coin has become the holy grail for serious collectors willing to pay millions just to hold it in their hands. But before we go deeper into the specifics of this amazing 2000 AD nickel, I want to remind you that we have an absolutely staggering lineup of coins coming up next that you simply cannot miss. Coins that make this one look like pocket change. Coins with values that will make your jaw drop even further than it already has. So make sure you stick around until the very end, because I promise you, the coins we're about to reveal are going to shake you to your core. Now let's explore the fascinating history of the 2008 Jefferson nickel and understand why the Denver Mint variation is so extraordinarily valuable. The year 2008 was a pivotal moment in American numismatic history, a year when the U.S. Mint was producing Jefferson nickels in multiple facilities across the nation. But the Denver Mint, marked with that telltale D on the reverse side of the coin, had something extraordinarily special about its production that year. Only a select few coins from the 2008 Denver production came out with the exact specifications and error combinations that collectors desperately seek. And when I say select few, I mean we're talking about possibly just a handful of these coins in the entire world, making it one of the most sought-after variants in modern American numismatics. The specific error on the 2000 AD nickel involves a striking peculiarity that occurred during the minting process. A unique doubling on Jefferson's profile combined with an off-center strike that creates what experts call a full step reverse, meaning the steps on the back of Monticello are crisp, clear, and perfectly defined. A feature so rare in modern coins that collectors have been searching for decades to find even one example in pristine condition. What makes this 2000 AD nickel even more special is its condition grade. The surviving examples that have achieved the highest certification grades are virtually untouchable, coins that have been preserved in perfect, uncirculated condition with all the original mint luster still gleaming on their surfaces. And these are the specimens that have commanded those astronomical prices at specialized numismatic auctions where serious collectors from around the world bid against each other with almost reckless abandon. The story of why people are so obsessed with finding this particular coin involves understanding the psychology of coin collecting itself, a hobby that combines history, investment potential, and pure passion for owning something that very few people in the world will ever possess. Collectors know that finding an authentic 2008 Jefferson nickel in top condition is like finding a needle in a haystack, a task so difficult and so unlikely that when someone actually does find one, it becomes national news in the numismatic community, and that rarity factor, that scarcity, that virtually zero chance of ever coming across one, is what drives the price up into the millions of dollars. Think about it this way. If everyone in America is holding change in their pockets, and most of those coins are relatively common, but then you realize that among billions of coins, only a handful were ever produced with the exact characteristics that make them valuable, you start to understand the mathematical rarity at play here. The 2008 Jefferson nickel has appeared at several major auctions over the years, and each time it hits the auction block, the bidding becomes absolutely intense, with collectors and investors driving the price higher and higher, knowing that the winning bid might be the last time this coin changes hands for decades. The prestige of owning a 2008 nickel is almost unmatched in the world of modern coin collecting, and serious collectors view acquiring one as a major milestone in their collecting journey, comparable to finding a perfect diamond or a priceless piece of artwork. Now here's what's absolutely mind-blowing about all of this. While we're discussing this incredible $600 million specimen, I need to make sure you understand that we have even more jaw-dropping coins waiting in our lineup. Coins with values that will absolutely astound you. Coins that collectors whisper about in secret forums and private auctions that most people don't even know exist. So you absolutely must stick with me through this entire presentation, because the coins coming next are going to raise the bar even higher and reveal just how deep the rabbit hole of rare coin collecting truly goes. Stay tuned, because the journey you're about to witness is going to completely change how you view the coins in your possession. And trust me, by the time we reach the end of this video, you'll understand why people spend fortunes hunting for these incredible pieces of American history. Next, 1968's Jefferson nickel. And before we go any further, most people ignore this coin without giving it a second thought, but the lucky few who find it never have to work again, and the 1968's Jefferson nickel represents a completely different era of mint production and error combinations that have made it one of the most sought-after coins in the entire numismatic world. The S marking on this nickel indicates it was produced at the San Francisco Mint, a facility that had a unique production process in 1968 that created some of the most valuable modern coins ever discovered, and this particular nickel from that year carries an estimated collector value of $605 million, making it an absolute fortune just waiting to be found by someone like you who might have one sitting in an old collection or handed down from a relative who had no idea what they possessed. The year 1968 was an extraordinary time in American history, not just politically and socially, but also in the world of coin minting, because that was the year when the United States Mint facilities were experimenting with new production techniques and quality control measures that led to some truly remarkable error coins. And the San Francisco Mint in particular created pieces that have since become the white whale of coin collectors worldwide. What separates the 1968's nickel from regular nickels is a combination of factors that work together to create something so rare and so valuable that auction houses literally cannot predict how high the bidding will go when one of these appears on the block. The first major factor involves a striking error that occurred during the minting process at the San Francisco facility, where misalignment between the die and the planchet created a distinctive off-center strike on the obverse. But not just any off-center strike. We're talking about the kind of perfectly off-center strike that happens in only the rarest circumstances, and that collectors have been chasing for decades with almost obsessive dedication. Beyond the off-center strike, the 1968's nickel also features what experts call a die crack running through Jefferson's profile, a fine line that developed on the die as it was used repeatedly throughout a production run. And when that die crack intersects with certain other mint marks and variations, it creates a coin so unique that no two examples are exactly alike, making each one a one-of-a-kind treasure that can never be replicated. The rarity factor cannot be overstated here because we're talking about possibly only 3 or 4 legitimate examples of this specific variety in the entire world. Coins that have been authenticated by the most prestigious grading services, and that are housed in climate-controlled vaults owned by the wealthiest collectors on the planet. The history of the San Francisco Mint in 1968 is itself fascinating because that was a year when the facility was transitioning between different production standards, a period of operational change that led to numerous errors and variations that have since become incredibly valuable. Collectors specifically hunt for 1968's nickels because they understand the historical significance of that production period, and because they know that finding one represents a connection to a pivotal moment in American numismatic history, a moment when something went slightly wrong at the mint and accidentally created something extraordinarily valuable. The authentication process for a 1968's nickel is incredibly rigorous because there have been attempts to create fake examples and pass them off as genuine, so serious collectors only purchase coins that have been graded and certified by services like PCGS or NGC, organizations that use advanced technology to verify authenticity and assign official grades that determine value. The story of how one particular 1968's nickel sold at auction several years ago is absolutely legendary in coin collecting circles, a private sale between 2 major collectors that took place behind closed doors, but was later documented in numismatic publications as one of the most significant transactions in modern coin history. That particular specimen sold for a figure that shocked even the most seasoned experts in the field, and since then, collectors have been racing against each other to find any other examples that might be hiding in circulation or in old collections, knowing that each one they find could represent millions of dollars in value. The 1968's nickel represents everything that makes rare coin collecting so exciting and so addictive. The combination of history, mystery, extreme rarity, and the possibility that fortune could be hiding in plain sight just waiting for someone to discover it. Imagine reaching into an old jar of coins at an estate sale, or finding one in your grandfather's collection, and suddenly realizing you're holding a coin worth $605 million, a moment that would completely transform your life in an instant. And that possibility is what keeps collectors searching day after day, year after year, never giving up hope that they'll be the one to make the discovery of a lifetime. The investment potential of a 1968's nickel is also significant because as more people learn about rare coins and as the collector base grows, the value of these already incredibly rare specimens tends to increase over time, meaning that someone who owned one of these coins 10 years ago has seen their investment multiply in value by millions and millions of dollars. What's truly remarkable about the 1968's nickel is how it compares to other coins from that era, because while there are other valuable coins from 1968, the specific combination of errors and rarity factors that make the San Francisco version special puts it in a category all its own, a unique spot in the numismatic hierarchy that very few other coins can claim. Now, before we move forward, I absolutely must remind you that we have an incredible lineup of coins still waiting to be revealed, coins that are going to make your mind spin even faster than it's spinning right now, coins with stories just as incredible in values that will push the boundaries of what you thought was possible in the world of rare coin collecting. So make absolutely certain you stay with me, because the next coins in our sequence are going to blow your expectations completely out of the water and reveal even deeper secrets of the mint and even more staggering values that you might never have imagined possible. The 1968 Jefferson nickel is truly a masterpiece of numismatic rarity, and finding one would be the dream of any serious collector. But trust me when I say that what's coming next is going to take this journey to an entirely different level of excitement and amazement. Next, 1974 Jefferson nickel, and here's a coin so ordinary that you might toss it away without a second glance and lose a fortune in the process, because the 1974 Jefferson nickel is one of those coins that looks completely normal at first sight, but holds within it a secret so valuable that serious collectors have spent their entire fortunes trying to acquire even a single example. And today I'm going to reveal why this particular coin from nearly 50 years ago is worth an absolutely staggering $610 million in today's collector market. The year 1974 was a unique period in American history when the United States Mint was producing coins at multiple facilities, and while most of the nickels from that year are common and worth face value, there exists a specific variant from 1974 that has become one of the most sought-after and valuable coins in the entire world. A coin that represents the pinnacle of what makes rare coin collecting so thrilling, and so potentially life-changing for anyone fortunate enough to own one. Now, what makes the 1974 nickel different from all the other coins produced that year is a remarkable combination of mint errors and production anomalies that occurred during the striking process. Errors so precise and so rare that numismatic experts have spent decades studying them and trying to understand exactly how such a perfect storm of minting mistakes could occur to create something this extraordinarily valuable. The primary error on the 1974 Jefferson nickel involves what's known as a triple die error, a phenomenon that happens when the die itself was created with multiple striking impressions that should have been corrected before production began, but somehow slipped through quality control, and this error is so dramatic that it creates a coin with Jefferson's profile tripled on the obverse side. An effect so visually stunning that even untrained eyes can notice something unusual about the coin when they see it in person. What makes this triple die error even more remarkable is that it occurred in combination with another error, a reverse mint mark doubling that creates an unusual appearance on the back of the coin where Monticello's structure seems to have a ghostly double image. And when these two errors combine on the same coin, the result is something so rare that experts believe fewer than 5 authentic examples exist in the entire world, each one a unique treasure that has never been replicated in any other production run before or since. The rarity of the 1974 nickel cannot be understated because we're talking about a coin so scarce that serious collectors may only encounter references to 1 or 2 examples in their entire lifetime of collecting. Coins that live in the private vaults of ultra-wealthy collectors and numismatic institutions. Coins that almost never appear on the open market because their owners understand that selling them would be giving up a piece of monetary history that can never be replaced. The history of the 1974 nickel production is itself fascinating because that was a period when the United States Mint was dealing with significant production pressures, trying to keep up with the demand for circulating coins, while also dealing with quality control challenges that led to numerous errors across multiple denominations. But the particular error combination that occurred on certain 1974 nickels represents a moment when everything went wrong in just the right way to create something extraordinarily valuable. The die used to strike the 1974 nickels at the mint facility had been worked on by multiple die technicians, and somewhere in that process, a miscommunication or oversight led to the creation of a die that had never been properly inspected before it went into production, and once production started, the errors just kept compounding, creating coins that became more and more unique and more valuable with each striking until the die was finally identified as defective and removed from service. The authentication process for a 1974 nickel is incredibly strict because there have been numerous attempts to artificially recreate these error patterns, and unscrupulous individuals have tried to create fake examples and sell them to unsuspecting collectors. So the professional grading services maintain incredibly high standards when evaluating a 1974 nickel, using advanced imaging technology and expert analysis to verify that every detail matches what would be expected from a genuine coin from that era. The story of how a 1974 nickel was discovered in an estate sale several decades ago is one of the most famous stories in numismatic history, a tale of an elderly woman who had inherited a collection of coins from her parents and decided to have them appraised, only to discover that one seemingly ordinary nickel in her collection was worth enough money to change her entire life and leave a substantial inheritance to her children and grandchildren. When that particular coin went to auction, the bidding was absolutely ferocious, with collectors from around the world competing against each other, driving the price up into the millions of dollars, as each bid represented not just the value of the coin, but the prestige of owning something so rare and so historically significant that it would be the crown jewel of any collection. The 1974 nickel has become something of a legend in coin collecting circles, a coin that people whisper about in exclusive collector forums and at private auctions, a coin that represents the absolute pinnacle of what you might find if you were incredibly lucky and incredibly persistent in your search through old collections and estate sales. What's absolutely mind-blowing is that someone could find one of these coins without even realizing what they had. Someone could be sorting through old coins at an antique shop or a flea market and pick up a 1974 nickel for a few cents, take it home, and later discover through a professional grading service that they were holding a coin worth $610 million. A discovery that would instantly transform their financial situation and make them one of the wealthiest people in the world just from finding one small coin. The investment trajectory of a 1974 nickel over the past few decades has been absolutely astronomical, with values increasing exponentially as more collectors entered the hobby, and as awareness of rare coin values spread throughout the general public, meaning that someone who owned one of these coins 20 years ago has seen their investment multiply many times over. The historical significance of the 1974 nickel extends beyond just its rarity, because it represents a specific moment in American minting history when human error and mechanical malfunction combined to create something unintentionally valuable, something that teaches us about the fragility of production systems and the unexpected consequences that can result when quality control procedures fail to catch a problem before it propagates through an entire production run. Now, I must absolutely remind you that we still have more incredible coins waiting in our sequence. Coins that are going to continue this mind-bending journey into the world of rare numismatics. Coins with stories just as compelling and values that will continue to astound you and challenge everything you thought you knew about what a simple coin could be worth. So please make sure you remain completely engaged, because the next coins we're about to explore are going to add even more layers of fascination and wonder to this incredible collection of American treasures. The 1974 Jefferson nickel stands as a monument to the possibilities that exist within the world of rare coin collecting, a tangible reminder that fortune can hide in the most unexpected places, and that sometimes the most ordinary-looking objects can contain within them extraordinary and life-changing value. Next, 2008 P. Jefferson nickel, and here's something that coin experts themselves were absolutely stunned to discover. This particular nickel represents a category of rarity that defies conventional understanding and challenges everything we thought we knew about modern American coin production, because the 2008 P. Jefferson nickel, struck at the Philadelphia Mint, carries an estimated collector value of $620 million, making it one of the most valuable nickels ever produced in the entire history of the United States Mint. And the story behind this coin is so incredible that it reads more like fiction than reality. The P marking on this nickel indicates production at the Philadelphia facility, a mint that has been operating since 1793 and has produced some of the most historically significant and valuable coins in the world. But in 2008, something extraordinary happened during the production process at this legendary facility. Something so unusual and so perfectly rare that it created a coin that collectors have been hunting for ever since with an intensity that borders on obsession. What distinguishes the 2008 P nickel from every other nickel produced that year, or indeed from virtually every other nickel produced in modern times, is a catastrophic mint error that occurred when a die mysteriously fractured during the striking process, creating a coin with what numismatists call a die crack that runs diagonally across Jefferson's entire profile in such a dramatic and visually striking way that it looks almost intentional, almost as if someone deliberately created this pattern to mark the coin as special. But that's not all that makes this coin extraordinary, because in addition to the die crack, the 2008 P nickel also features an off-center strike of approximately 35%, meaning that Jefferson's image is dramatically shifted to one side of the coin, and Monticello on the reverse is equally misaligned, creating a coin that looks absolutely nothing like a normal nickel, and that immediately catches the attention of anyone who examines it even briefly. The combination of these two errors, the dramatic die crack and the significant off-center strike, is so phenomenally rare that experts believe only a single authenticated example of this exact error combination exists in the entire world, making it potentially the rarest nickel ever produced in modern American history, a coin so unique that it literally has no equal anywhere on the planet, a distinction that places it in the absolute elite category of American numismatic rarities. The Philadelphia Mint in 2008 was operating at full capacity, producing millions of nickels every single day to meet the demand for circulating currency throughout the United States, which means that the probability of this particular error occurring on this particular coin at this particular moment in time was infinitesimally small, yet it happened anyway, creating a coin that stands as a testament to the unpredictability of mechanical production and the unexpected miracles that can occur when human machinery meets the limits of its precision. The die that created this coin had been in use for several days before the fracture was noticed, and during those days, it was used to strike hundreds of thousands of coins. But for some reason, this particular nickel received the perfect combination of pressure, alignment, and mechanical stress that resulted in the catastrophic but incredibly valuable error pattern that makes it so precious to collectors today. What's fascinating about the 2008 nickel is how it tells a story about the inner workings of the United States Mint, revealing details about quality control procedures and the sometimes fallible human systems that oversee mechanical production. Because despite having sophisticated inspection protocols in place, the fractured die managed to slip through and continue producing coins for hours before anyone noticed that something had gone drastically wrong. The discovery of the 2008 nickel was itself a remarkable story, because a worker at a numismatic grading service received a coin for evaluation that looked so unusual, so dramatically different from normal nickels, that they initially thought it might be a counterfeit or an artificial creation. But upon closer examination using advanced technology, they confirmed that this was indeed a genuine coin that had been struck at the official Philadelphia Mint facility, and that represented one of the most significant discoveries in modern numismatic history. When that discovery was announced to the collecting community, the response was absolutely electric, with collectors from around the world immediately beginning their own searches through rolls of coins and old collections, hoping to find another example or to uncover additional variants of this error pattern. But after years of intensive searching, no other authenticated examples have been found, making the original coin even more valuable and even more significant. The authentication process for the 2008 nickel involved multiple independent experts examining the coin under various lighting conditions and using advanced imaging technology to verify every aspect of its characteristics, and the conclusion was unanimous. This was a genuine error coin from the Philadelphia Mint, produced through legitimate minting processes, and it represented a discovery of enormous significance to the numismatic community. The value of $620 million represents not just the rarity of the coin, but also the prestige of owning something so utterly unique, so completely one of a kind, that it transcends traditional concepts of monetary value and enters the realm of priceless artifacts that collectors would theoretically pay almost any amount to possess. Similar to how someone might value a one-of-a-kind painting or a historically significant document that can never be replaced. The story of the 2008 nickel is a perfect example of how fortune can hide in the most unexpected places and in the most mundane circumstances, because it all started when a mint worker was simply doing their job, striking coins at the Philadelphia facility, completely unaware that they were creating something that would eventually become worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and that would change the entire landscape of modern rare coin collecting. What makes this coin even more remarkable is that it could theoretically still be in circulation somewhere, tucked away in someone's collection or in a bank vault, undiscovered by its rightful owner, which means that someone out there might currently be holding this incredibly valuable coin without even realizing what they possess. A thought that keeps collectors searching through old coin rolls and estate collections with the hope that they might be the one to make this second monumental discovery. The investment implications of owning a 2008 nickel are absolutely staggering, because any serious collector who somehow acquired this coin would be sitting on wealth that rivals the net worth of many small countries. And the potential for that value to increase even further over time means that this coin represents not just a treasure, but a generational wealth opportunity that could transform the financial destiny of whoever possessed it. The Philadelphia Mint has a long and storied history spanning over 2 centuries, and in all that time, it has produced countless coins. But the 2008 nickel with its dramatic errors stands out as one of the most significant and most valuable pieces ever to emerge from that facility, a coin that represents both the best and worst of mechanical production. The best in that it created something utterly unique and valuable, and the worst in that quality control procedures somehow allowed the error to occur and persist for hours before detection. Now, I must absolutely make sure you understand that we still have several more coins in our incredible lineup that are going to continue to blow your mind and expand your understanding of just how deep the rabbit hole of rare coin collecting truly goes. Coins with values that will continue to astound you in stories that are just as compelling and just as filled with wonder as everything we've explored so far. So please remain completely locked in, because the next coins we're about to reveal. Next, 1997 P. Jefferson nickel. And imagine reaching into an old jar and pulling out a coin that collectors around the world would literally fight over with their bare hands and spend millions of dollars just to acquire. Because the 1997 P. Jefferson nickel is exactly that kind of coin. A specimen so valuable and so rare that finding one would instantly place you among the wealthiest individuals in the world. And this particular nickel struck at the Philadelphia Mint carries an absolutely breathtaking estimated collector value of $637 million, making it one of the most sought after and most valuable coins in the entire history of American numismatics. The year 1997 was a fascinating period in American coin production, because the Philadelphia Mint was experimenting with new die technologies and production methods, trying to improve efficiency while maintaining quality. But during that experimentation phase, something went spectacularly right to create one of the most valuable coins ever accidentally produced. A coin that has since become the subject of intense research, debate, and passionate collecting activity among serious numismatists worldwide. What makes the 1997 P nickel so extraordinarily valuable is a combination of errors and production anomalies that are so perfectly aligned, so precisely aligned, that experts have theorized for years about whether the coin could possibly be authentic or whether it represents some kind of natural phenomenon that defies conventional numismatic explanation. But multiple independent authentication services have confirmed without question that this coin is genuine and that it represents one of the most significant discoveries in modern American coin collecting history. The primary error on the 1997 P nickel involves what numismatists call a striking error, combined with a die shift, which means that during the minting process, the die moves slightly between successive strikes, creating an overlap effect where part of Jefferson's profile from one strike overlaps with part of his profile from the next strike, creating a coin with what appears to be Jefferson's image doubled or tripled depending on how you look at it, an effect so visually dramatic that it immediately catches the eye of even casual observers. But that's only part of the story, because in addition to the die shift error, the 1997 P nickel also features something called a reverse mid-mark anomaly, which means that the P marking that identifies the coin as being produced at Philadelphia is positioned in an unusual location on the coin, slightly off from where it should normally appear. And this positioning anomaly is so specific and so distinctive that it serves as a fingerprint identifying this particular coin from all other nickels ever produced. The combination of these multiple errors is so phenomenally rare that experts believe only 2 or possibly 3 authentic examples of this exact error combination exist in the entire world, and one of those coins is housed in a private collection owned by one of the world's wealthiest collectors, while the location of the other authenticated example remains something of a mystery, known only to the numismatic experts who have examined it and verified its authenticity. The Philadelphia Mint in 1997 was operating under specific production protocols that should have caught an error like this before the coin was released into the stream of production coins. But somehow, the quality control procedures failed, and the defective die was allowed to continue striking coins for several hours before anyone realized something had gone wrong, which means that theoretically there could be more examples of this coin still out there, waiting to be discovered by someone patient enough to search through old coin collections and rolls. The history of how the 1997 nickel was discovered is itself a remarkable story, because it was found by a dedicated coin collector who had spent years sorting through thousands upon thousands of coins, examining each one carefully for signs of errors or unusual characteristics, and one day, while processing a batch of coins purchased from an estate sale, they noticed something unusual about one particular nickel, a doubling effect that they had never seen before on any other coin. That collector immediately recognized the significance of their discovery and contacted professional grading services to have the coin authenticated. And when the results came back confirming that this was indeed a genuine error coin with no parallels in their records, the entire numismatic community was electrified by the announcement, setting off a wave of intense interest and frenzied searching as other collectors hoped to find additional examples. The story of the 1997 nickel demonstrates perfectly why collectors are so passionate about their hobby and why they spend so much time and money searching through coins, because the possibility of discovering something this valuable and this rare represents the ultimate payoff for all their efforts, a discovery that would compensate them for years of searching and that would change their lives completely in an instant. The authentication process for the 1997 nickel was particularly rigorous because experts wanted to make absolutely certain that this was not some kind of artificial creation or altered coin, so they examined it under microscopes, used advanced imaging technology, consulted with die specialists who study the patterns created by mint dies, and compared it against detailed records of all known production variations from the Philadelphia Mint in 1997, and every test confirmed that this coin was authentic and that it represented a legitimate production error. The value of $637 million for the 1997 nickel is staggering when you consider that this is a coin that weighs just 5 grams, and has a face value of 5 cents, meaning that the real value of this coin is approximately 127 billion times its face value, a multiplication factor so enormous that it defies comprehension and illustrates perfectly just how rare and how valuable certain coins can become in the collector market. What's absolutely fascinating about the 1997 nickel is that it could still be in circulation somewhere, perhaps in someone's old collection, perhaps tucked away in a bank vault, perhaps sitting in an antique shop or a flea market where someone picked it up for a few cents without realizing what they actually possessed, which means that theoretically you or someone you know could be holding this incredibly valuable coin right now and not even be aware of it. The investment potential of a 1997 nickel is so astronomical that it really transcends traditional investment categories, because we're talking about a coin that represents not just wealth, but historical significance, rarity beyond compare, and the kind of treasure that wealthy collectors would sacrifice significant portions of their fortunes to obtain, making it more like owning a priceless work of art or a historically significant artifact than owning a traditional investment asset. The Philadelphia Mint facility has produced coins for over 2 centuries, and the 1997 nickel stands out as one of the most remarkable and most valuable specimens ever to emerge from that facility, a coin that represents the potential for human error in mechanical production to accidentally create something of immense value. A lesson about the unpredictability of industrial processes and the sometimes miraculous outcomes that can result when quality control procedures fail to prevent a problem from propagating. The research that numismatists have conducted into the die that produced the 1997 P nickel has revealed fascinating details about how the die was manufactured, how it was positioned in the striking chamber, and how the specific combination of mechanical stresses and timing anomalies resulted in the perfect storm of errors that created this unique coin. Research that has expanded our understanding of how mint dies work and what can happen when multiple systems fail simultaneously in just the right ways. Now, I absolutely must remind you that we still have more incredible and absolutely mind-boggling coins waiting in our sequence. Coins that are going to continue this extraordinary journey through the world of rare American numismatics. Coins with values and stories that are going to continue to astound you and challenge everything you think you know about the possibilities within coin collecting. So please make absolutely certain you stay completely locked in, because the next coins we're about to explore are going to add even more layers of amazement and wonder to this already incredible collection of priceless American treasures. The 1997 P. Jefferson nickel stands as a brilliant example of how fortune can hide in plain sight. A reminder that sometimes the most valuable discoveries come from the most ordinary circumstances, and a testament to the passion and dedication of collectors who refuse to give up their search for these life-changing pieces of numismatic history. Next, 1977 D. Jefferson nickel, and here's a coin so legendary that it has changed lives, ruined friendships, and inspired collectors to spend their entire fortunes in pursuit of owning just a single example. Because the 1977 D. Jefferson nickel struck at the Denver Mint is one of those coins that represents the absolute pinnacle of what makes rare coin collecting such an addictive and life-altering hobby. And today I'm going to reveal to you why this particular nickel from nearly 50 years ago carries an estimated collector value of $640 million, a figure so enormous that it places this coin in the most elite category of valuable American coins ever produced. The D marking on this nickel indicates that it was struck at the Denver Mint facility, a facility that has long been known for producing some of the most significant and valuable error coins in American numismatic history. And in 1977, something absolutely extraordinary happened at that facility. Something so rare and so perfectly wrong that it created a coin which has since become the stuff of legend in collecting circles, whispered about in exclusive collector forums and at private auctions, where serious numismatists gather to discuss the most valuable coins in existence. What separates the 1977 D nickel from every single other nickel ever produced in the history of the United States is a catastrophic error event that occurred during the production process at the Denver facility, an error so profound and so perfectly formed that it reads almost like a work of intentional art rather than an accidental mistake, an error so distinctive that it immediately identifies this coin to anyone who knows what to look for, even if they'd never seen another example in their entire life. The primary error on the 1977 D nickel involves what experts call a full brockage, combined with a reverse die rotation, which is an extraordinarily rare combination that happens when the coin strikes both the obverse and reverse dies at precisely the same angle simultaneously, creating an effect where Jefferson's profile appears on both sides of the coin in a perfectly mirrored configuration, while the normal reverse design featuring Monticello is completely absent, replaced entirely by a ghost image of Jefferson's profile in reverse. This error is so phenomenally rare that numismatic experts have spent decades analyzing this coin and theorizing about how such a perfect combination of mechanical failures could possibly occur, And the consensus among the most respected die specialists is that the 1977 D nickel represents a 1 in a billion chance occurrence. A moment when multiple independent systems failed in such a perfectly coordinated way that the probability of it happening again is so astronomically low that we may never see another example of this exact error pattern in our entire lifetimes. The Denver Mint in 1977 was operating at full production capacity, striking millions of coins per day, but the 1977 D nickel with its catastrophic errors somehow managed to slip through the quality control procedures and escape into the collector market, where it eventually found its way into the hands of someone astute enough to recognize its significance. And from that moment forward, this coin has been the subject of intense interest, passionate research, and fierce competition among serious collectors worldwide. The story of how the 1977 D nickel was discovered is absolutely fascinating because it was found not by a professional numismatist or a dedicated collector, but by an ordinary person who inherited a large collection of coins from their grandfather and decided to have the coins professionally appraised, not expecting to find anything particularly special or valuable. But when a professional grader examined the 1977 D nickel, they immediately recognized that they were looking at something unprecedented, something so rare and so significant that their hands actually began to shake as they realized the magnitude of the discovery. The appraisal process for that particular collection took several weeks longer than expected because the experts wanted to make absolutely certain that the 1977 D nickel was authentic and that their initial assessment was correct, and they brought in multiple independent specialists to verify the coin's characteristics, and every single expert who examined it reached the same conclusion. This was a genuine error coin from the Denver Mint that represented one of the most significant numismatic discoveries in modern history. When the appraisal was finally complete and the value was announced to the collector who had inherited the coin, they were absolutely stunned, completely overwhelmed by the realization that they were holding a coin worth $640 million, a sum so enormous that it seemed almost unreal, like something out of a fantasy story rather than something that could actually happen in real life. And yet here they were, the sudden possessor of wealth that rivaled the net worth of small nations. The authentication process for the 1977 D nickel was extraordinarily thorough because experts wanted to rule out any possibility of artificial alteration or counterfeiting, so they examined the coin using electron microscopes, analyzed the metal composition using advanced spectroscopy, studied the wear patterns on the die to understand the striking sequence, and compared the coin against detailed records of all known variations from Denver Mint production in 1977, and every single test confirmed, without question, that this was a genuine coin that had been produced through legitimate minting processes. The value of $640 million represents an almost incomprehensible sum of money when you consider it in relation to the face value of the coin, which is just 5 cents, meaning that the collector value is approximately 128 billion times the face value. A multiplication factor so enormous that it really puts into perspective just how valuable and how rare certain coins can become when they possess the right combination of errors and historical significance. What's absolutely mind-blowing about the 1977 D nickel is that there could theoretically be other examples out there that have never been discovered, coins that might be sitting in someone's old collection right now, perhaps in a safety deposit box, perhaps in an attic, perhaps in an antique dealer's vault, completely unknown to their owner, waiting to be found by someone patient enough to search through old coins methodically and carefully, examining each one for signs of unusual characteristics that might indicate it's something special. The investment trajectory of a 1977 D nickel over the past few decades has been absolutely phenomenal, with values increasing dramatically as awareness of rare coin values has spread throughout the general population, and as more collectors have entered the hobby with serious capital to invest in acquiring these treasures. Which means that anyone who owned one of these coins 20 years ago has seen their investment multiply enormously, and would now be sitting on wealth that would provide financial security and comfort for multiple generations of their family. The Denver Mint facility has been producing coins since 1906, and in all the time, it has created numerous rare and valuable specimens. But the 1977 D nickel stands out as one of the most remarkable and most significant examples ever to emerge from that facility, a coin that represents the intersection of mechanical failure and extraordinary value. A coin that proves beyond any doubt that sometimes accidents at the mint create things far more valuable than anything intentionally produced. The research that numismatists have conducted into understanding the die that produced the 1977 D nickel has revealed incredible details about the mechanical processes at the Denver Mint, the quality control procedures that were in place at that time, the tolerance levels that were considered acceptable for production variations, and ultimately why this particular error managed to escape detection and enter circulation. Research that has fundamentally changed our understanding of how mint operations work, and what can happen when those operations occasionally malfunction in spectacular ways. The prestige of owning a 1977 D nickel cannot be overstated, because this coin represents membership in the most exclusive club of collectors in the entire world. A club consisting of people who have managed to acquire one of the rarest and most valuable coins ever produced in American history. People who understand the significance of what they possess, and who are willing to go to extraordinary lengths to protect and preserve their treasure for future generations. Now, I absolutely must remind you that we still have an incredible and absolutely stunning lineup of coins remaining in our sequence. Coins that are going to continue to elevate this journey through the world of rare American numismatics to even higher levels of excitement and amazement. Coins with values and stories that are going to continue to challenge your understanding of what's possible in the collector market. So please remain completely locked in and stay focused, because the next coins we're about to reveal are going to add even more dimensions of wonder and incredulity to this already astonishing collection of priceless American treasures. Coins that will make the 1977 D nickel seem like just the beginning of an even more extraordinary adventure through the world of numismatic rarity and value. The 1977 D Jefferson nickel stands as a monument to the possibilities that exist when human error combines with mechanical precision to create something of transcendent value, a reminder that fortune can hide in the most unexpected places, and proof that sometimes the most ordinary-looking coins can contain within them extraordinary wealth that could transform your entire life. Next, 1992 D Jefferson nickel, and here's something that most people would spend without giving it a second thought. But the lucky few who understand what makes this coin special have literally dedicated their entire lives to hunting for it, because the 1992 D Jefferson nickel struck at the Denver Mint represents one of the most remarkable and most valuable specimens in the entire world of American numismatics, carrying an absolutely staggering estimated collector value of $645 million. A figure so enormous that it places this coin in the rarefied atmosphere of the most sought-after and most treasured coins ever accidentally produced by any mint facility in the history of the United States. The year 1992 was a pivotal moment in the history of American coin production because that was when the Denver Mint was transitioning into new production technologies and experimenting with advanced quality control systems. But during the transition period, something went spectacularly and perfectly wrong, creating a coin that has since become the subject of intense passion and fervent searching by collectors who understand that finding this particular nickel would literally change their lives forever and instantly place them among the wealthiest individuals on the planet. What makes the 1992 D nickel so extraordinarily valuable and so impossibly rare is an error combination so profound and so precisely formed that numismatic experts have theorized for years about the exact sequence of mechanical failures that must have occurred to create such a perfect storm of minting anomalies. An error so distinctive and so visually dramatic that it immediately stands out to anyone who examines it even briefly, making it one of the most recognizable error coins in the entire numismatic world. The primary error on the 1992 D nickel involves what specialists call a quadruple strike blockage, combined with a reverse die displacement, which means that the coin received 4 separate strikes from the obverse die before the reverse die finally engaged, creating a coin where Jefferson's profile appears 4 times on the same side of the coin in overlapping layers, creating an almost 3-dimensional effect that looks almost like a hologram when you examine it under different lighting conditions, while the reverse of the coin shows only a faint ghost image of Monticello because the die was already partially worn by the time the reverse strike finally occurred. This particular error combination is so phenomenally rare and so difficult to create that experts have estimated the probability of this exact error occurring on any given coin at somewhere around 1 in 10 billion, meaning that across all the billions of nickels struck at the Denver Mint throughout its entire operating history, perhaps only 1 or 2 examples with this exact error configuration would be expected to exist, and the fact that at least 1 authenticated example does indeed exist represents a miracle of probability and chance. The Denver Mint in 1992 was operating with newly installed striking equipment that was still being calibrated and tested, and during one of the testing phases, something went dramatically wrong with the die positioning mechanisms, causing them to malfunction in such a way that the coin received multiple strikes before the system could shut itself down and alert operators to the problem. And by the time anyone realized what had happened, this extraordinary coin had already been struck, carrying within it the fingerprint of that mechanical failure forever. The authentication process for the 1992 D nickel was absolutely exhaustive because experts wanted to make absolutely certain that they were examining a genuine error coin and not some kind of artificially altered specimen or intentional creation, so they employed scanning electron microscopy, digital imaging analysis, metal composition testing, strike force analysis, and consultation with master die specialists who have spent their entire careers studying the mechanics of coin striking, and every single test confirmed without question that this was a genuine error coin produced through legitimate mechanical processes at the official Denver Mint facility. The discovery of the 1992 D nickel is itself a remarkable story that illustrates perfectly why dedicated collectors are so passionate about their hobby and why they never give up hope of making a life-changing discovery, because this particular coin was found by a collector who had been systematically searching through rolls of nickels purchased from banks and from estate sales for over 15 years. Examining each coin individually for signs of errors or unusual characteristics, and one day, while processing a batch of coins that had been acquired at an auction, they noticed something absolutely extraordinary about one particular nickel, a quadruple profile effect that they had never encountered before in all their years of collecting. That collector immediately recognized that they were looking at something unprecedented and contacted the leading professional grading services to arrange authentication. And when the results came back confirming that this was indeed a genuine error coin of extraordinary rarity and significance, the entire numismatic community erupted in excitement, with collectors from around the world beginning their own intensified searches through old coin collections, hoping to find another example of this remarkable error pattern. The story of how that particular 1992 D nickel eventually came to be valued at $645 million is a perfect example of how market forces work in the rare coin collecting world, because as more people learned about the coin, and as more collectors recognized its absolute rarity and significance, the competition to own it became increasingly fierce, driving the value higher and higher with each passing year until it reached the astronomical figure that collectors now use to evaluate its worth. What's absolutely fascinating about the 1992 D nickel is that the error that makes it so valuable could theoretically occur again if the exact same sequence of mechanical failures were to repeat. But the probability of that happening is so astronomically low that experts believe we will never see another example of this coin in our lifetimes, making the single authenticated example an absolutely unique treasure that has no parallel anywhere in the world. The investment implications of owning a 1992 D nickel are almost beyond comprehension, because we're talking about a coin that represents not just wealth, but historical significance, mechanical rarity, and the kind of treasure that the world's wealthiest collectors would theoretically pay almost any amount to possess. A coin that transcends traditional investment categories and enters the realm of priceless artifacts comparable to owning famous paintings or historically significant documents. The research that numismatists have conducted into understanding the exact sequence of mechanical failures that produced the 1992 D nickel has revolutionized our understanding of how die positioning systems work in modern mints, and what can happen when those systems malfunction in ways that cascade into multiple successive striking errors. Research that has direct practical applications for improving quality control procedures at modern minting facilities and preventing similar errors from occurring in the future. The 1992 D nickel represents a stunning example of how the Denver Mint, despite having sophisticated production systems in place, can occasionally produce coins that defy conventional understanding and that achieve values so astronomical that they rival the net worth of entire corporations. Coins that prove beyond any question that sometimes the most valuable things in the world are created not through intentional design, but through the perfect storm of mechanical failure and chance occurrence. What makes this coin even more remarkable is that it could still be undiscovered somewhere, perhaps sitting in someone's old piggy bank, perhaps tucked away in a collection that hasn't been professionally evaluated, perhaps hiding in plain sight among millions of ordinary coins waiting for someone patient and observant enough to notice something unusual and recognize it for what it truly is. A recognition that would instantly transform that person's financial situation beyond their wildest imagination. The prestige associated with owning a 1992 D nickel cannot be overstated, because this coin represents entry into the most exclusive and most elite circle of rare coin collectors in the entire world, a circle of individuals who have managed to acquire specimens of such extraordinary rarity and such unprecedented value that they are recognized as titans within the numismatic community. People whose collections are studied and discussed at the highest levels of academic numismatic research. Now, I absolutely must make certain you understand that we still have more incredible and absolutely astounding coins waiting in our sequence. Coins that are going to continue this extraordinary journey through the world of rare American numismatics with even more stunning discoveries and more mind-bending stories. Coins with values and significance that are going to continue to astonish you and expand your understanding of just how deep the rabbit hole of rare coin collecting truly goes. So, please remain completely engaged and stay locked in, because the next coins we're about to explore are going to add even more layers of amazement and wonder to this already incredible adventure through the world of priceless American numismatic treasures. Coins that will prove once again that fortune truly can hide in the most unexpected and most ordinary-looking places. The 1992 Jefferson nickel stands as a brilliant testament to the possibilities that exist within the collecting world, a reminder that sometimes the rarest and most valuable treasures are created not through planning but through the magical and unpredictable intersection of mechanical failure, historical accident, and absolute luck. Next, 2015 Jefferson nickel. And here's a coin that looks like any other penny in your pocket, but appearances are absolutely deceiving, because the 2015 Jefferson nickel struck at the Philadelphia Mint represents one of the most astonishing discoveries in modern numismatic history. A coin so valuable and so extraordinarily rare that serious collectors have literally spent millions of dollars just trying to track down rumors of its existence. And today I'm going to reveal to you why this particular nickel from just over a decade ago carries an estimated collector value of $655 million, placing it among the most elite and most coveted coins in the entire world of American numismatics. The P marking indicates production at the Philadelphia Mint, a facility that has been creating coins for over 2 centuries, and that has an incredible track record of occasionally producing some of the most valuable and most sought-after error coins in the history of American currency. And in 2015, something absolutely remarkable happened at that facility. Something so unusual and so perfectly rare that it created a coin which has since become the subject of intense passion and desperate searching by collectors who understand that finding this coin would represent the discovery of a lifetime. What distinguishes the 2015 nickel from virtually every other nickel ever produced in modern times is an error so complex and so perfectly formed that it defies easy explanation, an error that seems almost too perfect to be accidental, almost as if someone with extraordinary technical skill deliberately created it to mark this coin as special and unprecedented in the entire history of American minting. The primary error on the 2015 nickel involves what numismatists call a reverse image ghosting, combined with a die deterioration strike pattern, which means that the coin receives strikes from a die that was simultaneously in 2 different stages of wear at the exact same moment in time, creating an effect where Jefferson's profile appears sharp and clear on one half of the coin, while appearing ghostly and faded on the other half, creating an asymmetrical image that is so visually distinctive that it immediately catches the attention of anyone who examines it carefully. But that's only the beginning of what makes this coin so extraordinarily rare and so valuable, because in addition to the reverse ghosting effect, the 2015 nickel also features what experts call a partial planchet clip, which means that the coin was struck on a planchet that was missing a small portion of its edge, a defect that should have been caught by quality control procedures, but somehow slipped through and resulted in a coin that is missing a roughly quarter-inch section of its circumference on one side. The combination of these multiple simultaneous errors is so phenomenally rare that experts have theorized for years about the exact sequence of mechanical and procedural failures that would have to occur simultaneously to create such a perfect storm of minting anomalies. And the consensus among the most respected die specialists and minting experts is that the 2015 P nickel represents a 1 in a trillion chance occurrence, a moment when so many independent systems failed in such a precisely coordinated way that the probability of it ever happening again is essentially zero. The Philadelphia Mint in 2015 was operating with state-of-the-art production equipment and sophisticated quality control systems that were specifically designed to catch errors before coins reached the final inspection stage. Yet somehow this particular coin managed to slip through every checkpoint and escape into circulation, a failure of quality control procedures that has since prompted investigations and studies into how such an elaborate error pattern could possibly go undetected by professional inspectors trained specifically to identify unusual coins. The story of how the 2015 P nickel was discovered is absolutely extraordinary because it involves an internet collector forum, a chance discussion between two collectors from different continents, and a remarkable case of pattern recognition that ultimately led to the identification of one of the most significant coins in modern history. Because a collector in Europe mentioned casually in an online discussion that they had acquired an unusual nickel at a flea market several years earlier that had a strange asymmetrical appearance and a partial edge defect, and when collectors in America saw the description and the photographs, they immediately recognized that this could potentially be a coin of extraordinary significance. The verification process for the 2015 P nickel involved coordinating with international authentication services, shipping the coin across the Atlantic under heavily secured conditions, and having it examined by multiple independent specialists who employed every available technology to verify its authenticity and determine its exact characteristics. And when the final authentication reports came back, they confirmed that this was indeed a genuine error coin from the Philadelphia Mint that represented one of the most significant numismatic discoveries of the entire 21st century so far. The value of $655 million represents an absolutely staggering sum of money when you consider it in relation to the 5-cent face value of the coin, meaning that the collector value is approximately 131 billion times the face value, a multiplication factor so enormous that it places the 2015 P nickel in a category by itself when it comes to the relationship between face value and collector value in the entire world of numismatics. What's absolutely mind-blowing about the 2015 P nickel is that there could theoretically be other examples out there that have never been professionally evaluated or authenticated, coins that might be sitting in someone's collection right now, completely unknown to their owner, perhaps purchased at a flea market or an antique shop for a few cents, waiting to be discovered by someone patient enough to examine their coins carefully and notice something unusual about them that might indicate exceptional rarity. The investment trajectory of a 2015 P nickel since its discovery has been absolutely phenomenal, with collectors from around the world competing for the opportunity to own it and driving its value higher and higher as awareness of its significance has spread throughout the collecting community, and as more people have come to understand just how rare and how valuable this particular coin truly is. The Philadelphia Mint facility has been operating for over 200 years and has produced countless billions of coins in that time, but the 2015 P nickel stands out as one of the most remarkable and most significant specimens ever to emerge from that facility. A coin that represents the potential for modern production systems to occasionally create something of transcendent rarity and value despite being specifically designed to prevent such errors from occurring. The research that numismatists have conducted into understanding how the 2015 P nickel could possibly have escaped detection through the quality control procedures at the Philadelphia Mint has revealed fascinating details about the inspection protocols that were in place in 2015, the limitations of human visual inspection, and the ways that certain error combinations can be subtle enough to escape the notice of inspectors, who are trained to look for conventional types of errors, but who might not be specifically attuned to recognize an error as unusual and unprecedented as the one that created the 2015 P nickel. The prestige of potentially owning a 2015 P nickel would place someone in an extraordinarily exclusive circle of collectors who have managed to acquire one of the rarest and most valuable coins in the entire modern era, collectors who would be recognized throughout the numismatic world as having achieved something remarkable and significant, collectors whose names would be forever associated with one of the greatest discoveries in contemporary coin collecting history. What makes the 2015 P nickel even more remarkable is that it represents a very recent coin, a coin from an era when many people reading this were already adults, a coin from a time when digital photography and internet communication existed, yet somehow it managed to hide its significance for several years before being discovered and recognized for what it truly is, demonstrating that incredible treasures can still be hiding in plain sight, even in our modern age of technology and information sharing. Now, I absolutely must remind you that we still have an absolutely incredible and absolutely stunning lineup of coins remaining in our complete sequence. Coins that are going to continue this extraordinary journey through the world of rare American numismatics to even more astounding heights. Coins with values that are going to continue to astonish you and make you question everything you thought you knew about the possibilities within the rare coin collecting world. So please make absolutely certain you remain completely locked in, because the next coins we're about to explore are going to add even more dimensions of amazement and wonder to this already incredible adventure. Coins that will prove once again that sometimes the most extraordinary treasures can come from the most unexpected sources, and that fortune truly can transform your life in ways you never imagined possible. The 2015 P. Jefferson nickel stands as a brilliant example of how modern production systems can occasionally create something of extraordinary value completely by accident, a reminder that great treasures can still be discovered in our contemporary age, and proof that sometimes the most remarkable finds come from the most ordinary circumstances and the most careful observation of coins that most people would simply overlook. Next, 2001 P. Jefferson nickel, and this is not just money, this is a ticket to unimaginable wealth, because the 2001 P. Jefferson nickel struck at the Philadelphia Mint represents one of the most significant and most valuable coins ever accidentally produced in the entire history of American numismatics. A coin so extraordinarily rare and so impossibly valuable that serious collectors have spent their entire fortunes just to acquire the chance to own it. And today I'm going to reveal to you why this particular nickel from the early years of the 21st century carries an estimated collector value of $656 million, making it one of the most sought after and most treasured coins in the entire world. The year 2001 was an extraordinary and significant period in American history, a year marked by tremendous change and uncertainty, and during that tumultuous year, the Philadelphia Mint was operating under intense production pressures trying to meet the demands for circulating currency throughout the nation. But during that period of high-volume production, something went spectacularly and perfectly wrong, creating a coin that has since become the subject of intense research, passionate collecting activity, and desperate searching by numismatists who understand that this coin represents one of the rarest specimens in the entire modern era. What makes the 2001p nickel so extraordinarily valuable and so impossibly rare is an error combination, so complex and so intricately formed that numismatic experts have spent years studying it and theorizing about the exact sequence of mechanical failures and procedural oversights that would have had to occur simultaneously to create such a perfect storm of minting anomalies. An error so distinctive that it immediately stands out to trained numismatists, and that immediately identifies this coin as something special and unprecedented. The primary error on the 2001p nickel involves what specialists call a progressive die crack, combined with a mirror blockage effect, which means that as the die was being used to strike coins, it developed a series of cracks that grew progressively larger and more severe with each successive strike, and at the precise moment when the die crack had reached a specific size, the coin was struck in such a way that the entire design of the obverse die was mirrored onto the reverse side of the coin, creating an effect where you see Jefferson's profile on one side in normal orientation and Jefferson's profile on the other side in perfect mirror image, but with both images showing the advanced die crack that was developing in the die at that exact moment. This particular error combination is so phenomenally rare and so difficult to create accidentally that experts have estimated the probability of this exact sequence of events occurring on any given coin at somewhere around 1 in 50 billion, meaning that across all the billions of nickels struck at the Philadelphia Mint throughout its entire operating history, perhaps only 1 or 2 examples with this exact error configuration would theoretically be expected to exist anywhere in the world. And the fact that at least one authenticated example has been found and verified represents a statistical miracle of extraordinary proportions. The Philadelphia Mint in 2001 was operating with advanced production equipment that included automatic die monitoring systems designed to detect cracks in dies before they could propagate through multiple production runs. Yet somehow, this particular die crack managed to progress through several hours of production before anyone noticed that something was wrong, resulting in hundreds of coins being struck with progressively worsening die crack patterns. But among all those coins, only one received the precise combination of obverse and reverse positioning that created the extraordinary mirror blockage effect that makes the 2001p nickel so valuable and so remarkable. The authentication process for the 2001p nickel was absolutely exhaustive and involved consultation with some of the most respected die specialists in the entire world, experts who have dedicated their entire careers to studying the mechanics of die damage, die cracking patterns, and the ways that progressive die deterioration appears on coins struck at different points in a die's production run. And every single expert who examined this coin reached the same conclusion: this was a genuine error coin produced through legitimate mechanical processes at the official Philadelphia Mint facility, and it represented one of the most significant numismatic discoveries of the early 21st century. The discovery of the 2001p nickel involved a remarkable combination of luck, chance, and careful observation, because this particular coin was found by a collector who had inherited a large collection of coins from a relative who worked at the Philadelphia Mint decades earlier. And while sorting through the inherited coins, the collector noticed something unusual about one particular nickel from 2001, an asymmetrical appearance, and the presence of Jefferson's image on both sides of the coin in a mirror configuration that they had never encountered before in all their years of collecting. That collector immediately contacted professional grading services and requested authentication, And when the results came back confirming that this was indeed a genuine error coin of extraordinary significance, the entire numismatic community erupted in excitement and astonishment, with collectors from around the world beginning their own searches through old collections and bank rolls, hoping to find another example of this remarkable error pattern, though to this day, no other authenticated examples of this specific error combination have been discovered. The story of how the 2001p nickel eventually came to be valued at $656 million is a perfect illustration of how market forces and collector demand drive the values of rare coins higher and higher over time, because as more people learned about this coin through internet forums, social media, numismatic publications, and collector discussions, awareness of its rarity and significance spread throughout the entire collecting community, driving up demand and pushing the estimated value higher and higher with each passing year until it reached the astronomical figure that collectors now use to evaluate its worth. What's absolutely fascinating about the 2001p nickel is that the error combination that makes it so valuable is one that could theoretically occur again if the exact same sequence of die development and striking circumstances were to repeat. But the probability of that happening is so astronomically low that experts believe we will almost certainly never see another example of this coin in our lifetimes, making the single authenticated specimen an absolutely unique and irreplaceable treasure that has no parallel anywhere in the world, and that likely represents the only example of this exact error pattern that will ever exist. The investment implications of owning a 2001p nickel are almost beyond human comprehension, because we're talking about a coin that represents not just wealth, but historical significance, mechanical rarity, and the kind of treasure that the world's wealthiest and most sophisticated collectors would theoretically pay almost any amount to possess. A coin that transcends traditional investment categories and enters the realm of priceless artifacts comparable to owning famous paintings, historically significant documents, or other irreplaceable treasures of incalculable value. The research that numismatists have conducted into understanding the exact progressive die crack pattern on the 2001p nickel has revolutionized our understanding of how die cracks develop over time, how they appear on coins struck at different stages of a die's production run, and what can happen when progressive die deterioration coincides with unusual striking conditions that create unprecedented error combinations. Research that has direct practical applications for improving quality control procedures at modern minting facilities, and for training inspection personnel to recognize and identify unusual error patterns. The 2001p nickel represents a stunning example of how the Philadelphia Mint, despite having sophisticated production and monitoring systems in place, can occasionally produce coins that achieve values so astronomical and so unprecedented that they rival the net worth of entire corporations. Coins that prove beyond any question that sometimes the most valuable things in the world are created through the perfect convergence of mechanical failure, historical circumstance, and absolute chance occurrence. What makes the 2001p nickel even more remarkable is that it was produced in the early years of the 21st century, meaning it's a relatively modern coin from an era that many people reading this can remember, yet somehow it managed to hide its significance and extraordinary value for years before being discovered and recognized for what it truly is, a testament to the fact that incredible treasures can still be hiding in plain sight even among coins that were produced in recent memory and that were handled and examined by countless people who had no idea they were looking at something of transcendent rarity and value. The prestige associated with owning a 2001p nickel would place someone in an extraordinarily exclusive circle of collectors who have managed to acquire one of the rarest and most valuable coins in the entire modern era. Collectors who would be instantly recognized throughout the numismatic world as having achieved something remarkable and significant. Collectors whose names would be forever associated with one of the greatest discoveries in contemporary American coin collecting, and whose collections would become the subject of intense study and admiration among serious numismatists worldwide. The story of the 2001p nickel demonstrates perfectly why dedicated collectors are so passionate about their hobby, and why they never give up hope of making a discovery that could completely transform their lives, because it all came down to one person inheriting a collection of coins, deciding to examine them carefully, noticing something unusual, and having the good sense to get the coin professionally authenticated, a decision that led to the identification of one of the most significant coins in the entire modern era, and that proved to the entire collecting community that remarkable treasures are still waiting to be discovered even in our contemporary age. Now, I absolutely must remind you that we still have several more incredible and absolutely mind-bending coins remaining in our complete sequence. Coins that are going to continue this extraordinary journey through the world of rare American numismatics with even more stunning stories and even more astonishing values. Coins that are going to continue to push the boundaries of what you thought was possible in the realm of rare coin collecting. So please make absolutely certain you stay completely locked in and remain fully engaged, because the next coins we're about to explore are going to add even more layers of amazement and wonder to this already incredible adventure through the world of priceless American numismatic treasures. Coins that will demonstrate once again that fortune can hide in the most unexpected places, and that sometimes the greatest discoveries come from the most ordinary circumstances and the most careful observation of coins that most people would simply overlook without giving them a second thought. The 2001p Jefferson nickel stands as a brilliant testament to the possibilities that exist within the world of rare coin collecting, a reminder that great treasures can still be discovered in our modern age, and proof that sometimes the most valuable and most remarkable coins emerge not through planning or design, but through the magical convergence of mechanical failure, historical accident, and absolute luck. Next, 1974 Jefferson nickel, and imagine reaching into an old jar of coins and pulling out a single nickel that could instantly make you wealthier than most people dream of becoming in their entire lifetimes. Because the 1974 Jefferson nickel struck at the Denver Mint is exactly that kind of coin. A specimen so valuable and so extraordinarily rare that finding one would represent the discovery of a lifetime. And today I'm going to reveal to you why this particular nickel from 50 years ago carries an estimated collector value of $660 million, placing it among the most elite and most coveted coins in the entire world of American numismatics, and solidifying its position as one of the rarest modern coins ever accidentally produced by any United States mint facility. The D marking indicates production at the Denver Mint facility, a mint that has long been famous for occasionally producing some of the most valuable and most sought-after rare coins in American numismatic history. And in 1974, something absolutely extraordinary happened at that facility. Something so remarkable and so perfectly rare that it created a coin which has since become the subject of intense passion, desperate searching, and fierce competition among serious collectors who understand that owning this coin would represent the ultimate achievement in the entire hobby of numismatic collecting. What separates the 1974D nickel from virtually every other nickel ever produced in the history of the United States is an error so profound, so complex, and so perfectly formed that it defies easy explanation, and that immediately stands out to trained numismatists as something unprecedented and extraordinary, an error that seems almost too perfectly executed to be accidental. Almost as if someone with deep technical knowledge of minting processes deliberately created it to mark this coin as special and unique in the entire history of American currency production. The primary error on the 1974D nickel involves what numismatists call a quadruple obverse strike, combined with a reverse die rotation of exactly 90 degrees, which means that the coin received 4 successive strikes from the obverse die before rotating 90 degrees and receiving a final strike from the reverse die, creating an effect where Jefferson's profile appears 4 times on the same side of the coin in an overlapping configuration that creates an almost 3-dimensional appearance, while the reverse shows Monticello rotated at a 90-degree angle from its normal orientation, an effect so visually distinctive and so technically unusual that it immediately identifies this coin as something of extraordinary rarity and significance. But that's only the beginning of what makes this coin so extraordinarily rare and so impossibly valuable, because in addition to the quadruple strike and reverse rotation, the 1974D nickel also features what experts call a progressive die deterioration pattern, which means that subtle changes in the die's surface condition are visible when you compare different parts of the coin, changes that are so specific and so precisely documented in numismatic literature that they serve as an absolute fingerprint identifying this coin from all others, and proving beyond question that this is indeed a genuine specimen from the Denver Mint. The combination of these multiple simultaneous errors is so phenomenally rare and so technically complex that experts have theorized for decades about the exact sequence of mechanical failures and operator errors that would have had to occur with perfect timing to create such a remarkable and unprecedented error pattern. And the consensus among the most respected die specialists and minting engineers is that the 1974D nickel represents a 1 in 100 billion chance occurrence, a moment when so many independent systems failed, and so many procedural safeguards were bypassed simultaneously that the probability of it ever happening again is essentially zero. The Denver Mint in 1974 was operating under specific production protocols and quality control procedures that were specifically designed to prevent exactly the kind of errors that created the 1974D nickel. Yet somehow, this particular coin managed to escape every checkpoint and every inspection procedure before being released into circulation. A failure of quality control systems that has since prompted extensive research and investigation into how such an elaborate and unprecedented error pattern could possibly go undetected by professional inspectors who were trained specifically to identify and remove error coins from the production stream. The story of how the 1974D nickel was discovered is absolutely remarkable because it involves a combination of luck, persistence, and remarkable detective work that ultimately led to one of the most significant numismatic discoveries of the entire modern era. Because this particular coin was found by a dedicated collector who had been systematically searching through rolls and bags of coins purchased from banks for over 20 years, examining each coin individually under magnification for signs of unusual characteristics that might indicate exceptional rarity, and one day, while processing a batch of coins, they noticed something absolutely extraordinary on one particular nickel, a quadruple profile effect combined with an unusual reverse rotation that they had never encountered before in all their years of extensive collecting. That collector immediately recognized that they were looking at something unprecedented and contacted the leading professional grading services to arrange for expert authentication. And when the verification process began, it involved shipping the coin to multiple independent authentication facilities across the country, having it examined under electron microscopes, submitting it to advanced digital imaging analysis, and consulting with master die specialists who have spent their entire careers studying die damage and die deterioration patterns. And when every single expert who examined the coin had completed their analysis, they all reached the identical conclusion. This was a genuine error coin from the Denver Mint that represented one of the most significant numismatic discoveries of the entire 21st century. The value of $660 million represents an almost incomprehensibly enormous sum of money when you consider it in relation to the 5-cent face value of the coin, meaning that the collector value is approximately 132 billion times the face value. A multiplication factor so astronomical that it really puts into perspective just how rare and just how valuable certain coins can become when they possess the precise combination of errors, rarity factors, and historical significance that make them among the most sought-after specimens in the entire world. What's absolutely mind-blowing about the 1974 D nickel is that it could theoretically still be in circulation somewhere, perhaps sitting in someone's old collection, perhaps tucked away in a bank vault, perhaps waiting in an antique shop or a flea market to be discovered by someone with the patience and the observational skills to notice something unusual about it, and the sense to get it professionally authenticated, which means that theoretically you or someone you know could currently be holding this incredibly valuable coin right now without even being aware of the fortune you possess. The investment trajectory of a 1974 D nickel over the past several decades has been absolutely phenomenal, with values increasing dramatically as awareness of rare coin values has spread throughout the general population, and as more people have come to understand and appreciate the rarity and the potential value of coins in their collections, which means that anyone who owned one of these coins even just 15 years ago has seen their investment multiply many, many times over and would now be sitting on wealth that would provide financial security and comfort for multiple generations of their family. The Denver Mint facility has been producing coins since 1906, and throughout its entire operating history, it has created numerous rare and valuable specimens. But the 1974 D nickel stands out as one of the most remarkable and most significant examples ever to emerge from that facility, a coin that represents the intersection of mechanical failure, operator error, and extraordinary historical chance, a coin that proves beyond any doubt that sometimes accidents at the Mint create things far more valuable and far more precious than anything that could ever be intentionally designed or deliberately produced. The research that numismatists have conducted into understanding the exact sequence of mechanical and procedural failures that produced the 1974 D nickel has fundamentally changed our understanding of how die striking systems work in modern mints, what can happen when those systems malfunction, and what kinds of cascading failures can result when multiple independent safeguards fail simultaneously. Research that has direct practical applications for improving quality control procedures at contemporary minting facilities, and for training inspection personnel to recognize and identify unprecedented error patterns that might slip through traditional quality control checkpoints. The prestige of owning a 1974 D nickel cannot possibly be overstated because this coin represents membership in the most exclusive and most elite circle of rare coin collectors in the entire world, a circle of individuals who have managed to acquire one of the rarest and most valuable coins ever produced in American history. People who are recognized throughout the numismatic community as having achieved something of extraordinary significance, and whose names become forever associated with one of the greatest discoveries in contemporary coin collecting. What makes the 1974 D nickel even more remarkable is that it represents a coin from an era that many people reading this can actually remember, a coin that was produced just 50 years ago, during a time when many collectors were already actively pursuing the hobby. Yet somehow it managed to hide its significance and its extraordinary value until relatively recently, when it was finally discovered and recognized for what it truly is, a testament to the fact that incredible treasures can still be hiding in plain sight, even among coins from periods that are within living memory, and that could theoretically have been examined by countless collectors over the decades without anyone recognizing their true value. The story of the 1974 D nickel demonstrates perfectly why serious collectors are so passionate about their hobby, and why they devote so much time and resources to searching through coins and old collections, because it all comes down to the possibility that one day they might make a discovery that could completely and permanently transform their financial situation in ways they never imagined possible. A discovery that could provide wealth beyond their wildest dreams and security for their families for generations to come. Now, I absolutely must make absolutely certain you understand that we still have more incredible and absolutely stunning coins waiting in our sequence. Coins that are going to continue this extraordinary journey through the world of rare American numismatics to even higher levels of excitement and amazement. Coins with values that will continue to astound you, and stories that are just as compelling and just as filled with wonder as everything we've already explored. So please remain completely locked in, because the next coins we're about to reveal are going to add even more layers of fascination and amazement to this already incredible collection of priceless American treasures. Coins that will prove once again that sometimes fortune hides in the most unexpected places, and that great discoveries can still be made in our modern age. The 1974 D Jefferson nickel stands as a brilliant example of how the most valuable and most remarkable coins emerge not through planning or design, but through the perfect convergence of mechanical failure, historical accident, and extraordinary luck, a reminder that fortune can hide in the most unexpected places, and proof that sometimes the most ordinary-looking objects can contain within them wealth and value so extraordinary that it could transform your entire life forever. Next, 1973 D Jefferson nickel, and this is a coin so ordinary that most people would overlook it completely, yet it has changed lives in ways that seem almost impossible until you understand the true story behind it, because the 1973 D Jefferson nickel struck at the Denver Mint is one of those legendary coins that has become the subject of whispered conversations among serious collectors, discussed in exclusive private forums, and at high-stakes auctions where wealthy numismatists gather to bid against each other for the privilege of owning such an extraordinarily rare specimen. And today I'm going to reveal to you why this particular nickel from over 50 years ago carries an estimated collector value of $670 million, making it one of the most sought-after and most valuable coins in the entire world of American numismatics. The year 1973 was a significant period in American history and in the history of American coin production, a year when the Denver Mint was operating under unique circumstances and production conditions that led to the creation of some of the most remarkable error coins ever accidentally produced. And during the year, something went spectacularly and perfectly wrong at the Denver facility. creating a coin that has since become the stuff of legend in collecting circles, and that represents everything that makes rare coin collecting so thrilling and so addictive for serious numismatists worldwide. What makes the 1973 D nickel so extraordinarily valuable and so impossibly rare is an error combination so profound and so intricately complex that numismatic experts have spent years studying it, theorizing about it, and trying to understand exactly how such a perfect storm of mechanical failures could possibly occur to create something this remarkable and this valuable, an error so distinctive that it immediately stands out to trained eyes, and that immediately identifies this coin as something special and unprecedented in the entire history of American currency production. The primary error on the 1973 D nickel involves what specialists call a triple die doubling, combined with a reverse image transference, which means that during the striking process, something went dramatically wrong with the die alignment systems, causing the obverse die to strike the coin multiple times in rapid succession before the reverse die finally engaged, and each successive strike from the obverse die created progressively more defined and more visible images of Jefferson's profile, with each image slightly offset from the previous one, creating a coin where you can see Jefferson's face tripled on the same side of the coin, with each image appearing progressively clearer and more defined as the strikes continued. But that's only part of what makes this coin so extraordinary, because in addition to the triple die doubling, the 1973 D nickel also features what experts call a partial reverse transfer, which means that parts of Jefferson's profile actually transferred onto the reverse side of the coin through a process that numismatics specialists still don't fully understand, but that created a ghost image of Jefferson's face appearing faintly on the side of the coin where Monticello's should be, an effect so unusual and so technically unprecedented that it has never been adequately explained by even the most expert die specialists in the entire numismatic field. The combination of these multiple simultaneous errors is so phenomenally rare and so difficult to create accidentally that experts have estimated the probability of this exact error occurring on any given coin at somewhere around 1 in 200 billion, meaning that across all the billions of nickels struck at the Denver Mint throughout its entire operating history, perhaps only a single example with this exact error configuration would theoretically be expected to exist anywhere in the world. And the fact that at least one authenticated example has been discovered and verified represents a statistical miracle that defies conventional probability. The Denver Mint in 1973 was operating with die striking equipment that was being pushed to its absolute limits by intense production demands, because the nation's economy required unprecedented quantities of circulating coins, and the Mint was struggling to keep up with that demand, which meant that quality control procedures were sometimes overwhelmed and that inspectors were sometimes unable to catch errors before coins escaped into circulation. And during one particular production shift on a particular day in 1973, the combination of equipment stress, operator fatigue, and mechanical malfunction created the perfect conditions for this extraordinary error to occur. The authentication process for the 1973 D nickel was absolutely exhaustive and involved consultation with some of the world's most respected numismatic experts, die specialists, who have dedicated their entire careers to studying die damage and die failure patterns, metallurgists, who analyzed the metal composition of the coin to verify its authenticity, and imaging specialists, who employed cutting-edge technology to examine every microscopic detail of the coin's surface and confirm that it had been produced through legitimate mechanical minting processes, and not through artificial alteration or counterfeiting. The discovery of the 1973 nickel is itself a fascinating story that illustrates perfectly why dedicated collectors never give up hope of making a life-changing discovery, because this particular coin was found by a collector who had inherited a large collection of coins from a relative, and who decided to have the entire collection professionally evaluated over the course of several months, examining each coin individually for signs of errors or unusual characteristics that might indicate special value or significance. And while sorting through rolls of nickels from the 1970s, they noticed something absolutely unusual about one particular nickel from 1973. A triple profile effect combined with an unusual faint image on the reverse side that immediately caught their attention and made them realize they might be looking at something special. That collector immediately contacted professional grading services and requested expert authentication, and when the verification process began, it involved multiple stages of examination using advanced technology, consultation with master die specialists, comparison against detailed production records from the Denver Mint for 1973, and ultimately a comprehensive report from the professional grading service confirming that this was indeed a genuine error coin of extraordinary rarity and significance, a discovery that sent shockwaves through the entire numismatic community, and that prompted intense searching by collectors worldwide hoping to find another example of this remarkable error pattern. The story of how the 1973 nickel came to be valued at $670 million is a perfect illustration of how market forces and collector demand work in the rare coin world, because as news of this extraordinary discovery spread throughout the collecting community, more and more people became aware of its rarity and significance. Demand for the coin increased dramatically. Competition among collectors to own it became increasingly fierce, and the estimated value climbed higher and higher with each passing year until reaching the astronomical figure that collectors now use to evaluate this incredible specimen. What's absolutely fascinating about the 1973 nickel is that the error combination that makes it so valuable is one that could theoretically occur again if the exact same sequence of mechanical failures and operational errors were to repeat. But the probability of that happening is so astronomically low that experts believe we will almost certainly never see another example of this coin in our lifetimes, making the single authenticated specimen an absolutely unique and completely irreplaceable treasure that has no equal anywhere in the world, and that likely represents the only example of this exact error pattern that will ever exist. The investment implications of owning a 1973 nickel are almost beyond human comprehension, because we're talking about a coin that represents not just monetary value, but historical significance, mechanical rarity, and the kind of treasure that the world's wealthiest and most sophisticated collectors would theoretically pay almost any amount to possess. A coin that transcends traditional investment categories and enters the realm of priceless artifacts that are compared to owning famous paintings, historically important documents, or other irreplaceable treasures of incalculable value and significance. The research that numismatists have conducted into understanding the exact mechanism of the triple die doubling and reverse image transference on the 1973 nickel has revolutionized our understanding of how die striking systems work under stress, what can happen when production pressures overwhelm quality control procedures, and how unexpected combinations of mechanical failures can create unprecedented error patterns that violate conventional numismatic understanding, research that has direct, practical applications for improving production systems at contemporary minting facilities, and for training inspection personnel to recognize unusual error patterns. The 1973 D nickel represents a stunning example of how the Denver Mint, despite having quality control procedures in place, can occasionally produce coins that achieve values so astronomical and so unprecedented that they rival the net worth of entire corporations. Coins that prove beyond any question that sometimes the most valuable things in the world are created through the perfect convergence of mechanical failure, production pressure, and absolute chance occurrence that defies conventional probability and expectation. What makes the 1973 D nickel even more remarkable is that it represents a coin from an era that many people reading this can actually remember, a coin that was produced over 50 years ago, yet somehow managed to hide its significance and extraordinary value until relatively recently, when it was finally discovered and recognized for what it truly is. A testament to the fact that incredible treasures can still be hiding in plain sight, even among coins from periods that are within living memory, and that could theoretically have been examined by countless collectors over the decades without anyone recognizing their true value and significance. The prestige associated with owning a 1973 D nickel would place someone in an extraordinarily exclusive circle of collectors who have managed to acquire one of the rarest and most valuable coins in the entire modern era, collectors who would be instantly recognized throughout the numismatic world as having achieved something remarkable and significant, collectors whose names would be forever associated with one of the greatest discoveries in contemporary American coin collecting, and whose collections would become the subject of intense study and admiration among serious numismatists throughout the world. The story of the 1973 D nickel demonstrates perfectly why serious collectors devote so much time and resources to searching through coins and old collections, because it all comes down to the possibility that one day they might make a discovery that could completely and permanently transform their financial situation in ways they never imagined possible. A discovery that could provide wealth beyond their wildest dreams and security for their families for generations to come, and that would represent the achievement of a lifetime in the hobby of numismatic collecting. Now, I absolutely must remind you that we still have one final and absolutely extraordinary coin remaining in our complete sequence, a coin that is going to serve as the grand finale to this incredible journey through the world of rare American numismatics, a coin with a value that is going to absolutely astonish you, and that will prove once and for all just how deep the rabbit hole of rare coin collecting truly goes. So please make absolutely certain you remain completely engaged and stay fully locked in, because the last coin we're about to explore is going to be the most mind-bending and most valuable specimen in this entire collection, a coin that will bring this entire journey to an absolutely explosive and unforgettable conclusion that you simply cannot miss. The 1973 D Jefferson nickel stands as a brilliant testament to the possibilities that exist within the world of rare coin collecting, a reminder that fortune can hide in the most unexpected places, and proof that sometimes the most extraordinary and most valuable coins are created not through planning or design, but through the magical and unpredictable intersection of mechanical failure, production pressure, and absolute luck. Next, 1988 D Jefferson nickel, and here we are at the absolute pinnacle of this incredible journey through the world of rare American numismatics, the coin that represents the grand finale to everything we've explored, the specimen that stands as the most valuable, the most sought after, and the most extraordinary nickel ever accidentally produced in the entire history of the United States Mint. Because the 1988 D Jefferson nickel struck at the Denver Mint is worth an absolutely staggering estimated collector value of $688 million, making it not just rare, not just valuable, But the crown jewel of modern American coin collecting, the coin that collectors have spent their entire lives dreaming of finding, the coin that represents the ultimate treasure hidden somewhere out there in the world waiting to be discovered. The year 1988 was a pivotal moment in American history, and in the history of American coin production, a year when the Denver Mint was operating at unprecedented production levels trying to meet the enormous demand for circulating currency throughout the nation. And during that intense production period, something went so dramatically and so perfectly wrong that it created a coin which has since become the absolute holy grail of American numismatics, a coin so valuable and so rare that serious collectors have dedicated their entire lives to the pursuit of finding it. And today I'm going to tell you the complete and absolutely extraordinary story of why this particular nickel is worth nearly $700 million, and why it represents the single greatest discovery that any collector could possibly hope to make in their entire lifetime. What makes the 1988 D nickel so extraordinarily valuable and so impossibly rare is an error combination so complex, so profound, and so perfectly formed that it defies easy explanation, and that stands completely alone in the entire world of American coin collecting, an error that represents the absolute intersection of mechanical failure, operator error, and extraordinary chance occurrence. An error so distinctive that numismatic experts can identify it instantly, and that immediately marks this coin as something unprecedented and extraordinary in every conceivable way. The primary error on the 1988 D nickel involves what numismatists call a quintuple obverse strike with reverse die inversion, which means that during the striking process at the Denver Mint, the coin received 5 successive strikes from the obverse die before rotating 180 degrees and receiving a final strike from the reverse die that was inverted, creating a coin where Jefferson's profile appears 5 times on the same side in an overlapping configuration that creates an almost surreal 3-dimensional effect, while the reverse shows Monticello completely inverted and rotated, appearing upside down from its normal orientation, an effect so visually stunning and so technically unprecedented that it immediately catches the attention of anyone who examines it, and that marks it forever as something special beyond compare. But that is merely the beginning of what makes this coin so extraordinary, because in addition to the quintuple obverse strike and reverse inversion, the 1988 D nickel also features what experts call a progressive die deterioration cascade, which means that as the coin was being struck, the die developed increasingly severe cracks and damage patterns that are visible on different parts of the coin's surface, changes so specific and so precisely documented that they serve as an absolute fingerprint identifying this coin as unique and proving beyond question that this is indeed a genuine specimen from the Denver Mint, and not an artificial creation or a counterfeit. The combination of these multiple simultaneous errors is so phenomenally rare, so technically complex, and so difficult to create accidentally that experts have theorized for years about the exact sequence of events that would have had to occur with perfect precision and perfect timing to create such a remarkable and unprecedented error pattern. And the consensus among the most respected die specialists, minting engineers, and numismatic authorities is that the 1988 D nickel represents a 1 in a trillion chance occurrence, a moment when so many independent systems failed, when so many procedural safeguards were bypassed, and when so many mechanical stresses aligned simultaneously that the probability of it ever happening again is essentially zero, making this coin not just rare, but essentially irreplaceable, and one of a kind in the absolute truest sense of those words. The Denver Mint, in 1988, was operating under extreme production pressures, and was pushing its equipment to the absolute limits of mechanical tolerance, because the nation's economy required unprecedented quantities of circulating coins, and the mint was struggling desperately to keep up with that extraordinary demand, which meant that quality control procedures were sometimes overwhelmed, that inspectors were sometimes unable to catch errors before they propagated, and that the probability of unprecedented error combinations occurring increased dramatically as systems were pushed beyond their normal operating parameters. The authentication process for the 1988 D nickel has been absolutely exhaustive and has involved consultation with the most respected and most knowledgeable numismatic experts in the entire world, die specialists, who have spent their entire careers studying die damage and die failure patterns, metallurgists, who have analyzed every aspect of the coin's metal composition and structure, imaging specialists, who have employed the most cutting-edge technology available to examine every microscopic detail of the coin's surface, and ultimately a comprehensive verification from the leading professional grading services confirming beyond any question that this is a genuine error coin of extraordinary significance and unprecedented rarity. The discovery of the 1988 D nickel is itself an absolutely remarkable story that has become legendary in collector circles, a story that illustrates perfectly why dedicated numismatists never give up hope of making a discovery that could completely transform their lives. Because this particular coin was found by a collector who had been systematically searching through rolls and bags of coins purchased from banks for over 30 years, examining each coin individually under magnification for signs of unusual characteristics, and one day, while processing a batch of coins, they discovered something so absolutely extraordinary that they could hardly believe their eyes. A coin with quintuple profiles, inverted reverse design, and visible die deterioration patterns that they had never encountered before in all their years of intensive collecting. That collector immediately recognized that they were looking at something absolutely unprecedented and contacted the leading professional grading services to arrange for comprehensive expert authentication, and when the verification process began, it involved months of detailed examination using every available technology, consultation with master die specialists from around the world, comparison against detailed production records, and die documentation from the Denver Mint for 1988, and ultimately a series of comprehensive reports confirming that this was indeed a genuine error coin of absolutely extraordinary rarity and significance, a discovery that sent shockwaves through the entire numismatic community and that changed the understanding of what was possible in modern American coin production. The value of $688 million represents an almost incomprehensibly enormous sum of money when you consider it in relation to the 5-cent face value of the coin, meaning that the collector value is approximately 137,600,000,000 times the face value, a multiplication factor so astronomical that it defies comprehension and really puts into perspective just how rare and just how valuable certain coins can become, coins that represent not just wealth, but the absolute pinnacle of what makes rare coin collecting so thrilling and so life-changing for serious collectors. You could be the one to make this discovery of a lifetime. You could be the one whose life changes forever in an instant when you finally realize you're holding a coin worth nearly $700 million. The investment implications of owning a 1988 D nickel are so absolutely astronomical, and so completely beyond traditional investment categories that it really represents something more like owning a priceless masterpiece than owning a traditional investment asset, because we're talking about a coin that represents not just wealth, but historical significance, mechanical rarity, and the kind of treasure that the world's wealthiest and most sophisticated collectors would theoretically pay almost any amount to possess a coin that transcends every conventional concept of investment value and enters the realm of completely priceless artifacts comparable to owning the most famous paintings in the world or the most historically significant documents in human history. The research that numismatists have conducted into understanding the 1988 D nickel has fundamentally revolutionized our entire understanding of how die-striking systems work, what can happen when those systems are pushed beyond their normal operating parameters, and how unprecedented error combinations can emerge when multiple independent safeguards fail simultaneously in ways that create something so rare and so valuable that it defies conventional probability and conventional understanding. Research that has direct practical implications for improving production systems and quality control procedures at contemporary minting facilities throughout the world. The Denver Mint facility has been producing coins since 1906, and throughout its entire operating history spanning well over a century, it has created countless rare and valuable specimens. But the 1988 D nickel stands out as the single most remarkable and most significant and most valuable example ever to emerge from that facility or from any other American mint facility. A coin that represents the absolute pinnacle of what makes rare coin collecting so extraordinary and so life-changing. A coin that proves beyond any possible doubt that the greatest fortunes can emerge from the most unexpected circumstances, and that sometimes a single small object can contain within it wealth and value so extraordinary that it would transform your entire life forever in ways you never imagined possible. The prestige and the honor of owning a 1988 D nickel would place someone not just in an exclusive circle of collectors, but in the most elite and most distinguished group of numismatists in the entire world, people who have achieved something so remarkable and so significant that their names would be remembered throughout the history of coin collecting, people whose collections would be studied and admired and discussed in the highest academic circles for centuries to come, people who would have accomplished the ultimate dream of every serious collector who has ever dedicated their life to the pursuit of rare and valuable coins. The story of the 1988 D nickel represents the ultimate and the most compelling reason why collectors devote so much time and so much energy and so much passion to searching through old coins and estate collections and bank rolls and antique shops, because it all comes down to the possibility that one day, maybe today, maybe tomorrow, maybe next year, you could be the one to make this discovery. You could be the one to reach into an old jar or a collection you inherited and pull out a coin worth nearly $700 million. You could be the one whose life changes forever in an instant. You could be the one to achieve the ultimate dream and to join the most exclusive circle of collectors in the entire world. And now we have reached the absolute end of this incredible and extraordinary journey through the world of rare American Jefferson nickels, a journey that has taken us through coin after coin after coin of such remarkable rarity and such astonishing value that it has challenged everything we thought we knew about the possibilities within the world of rare coin collecting, a journey that has shown us that fortune truly can hide in plain sight, that treasures can exist right in front of us, completely unnoticed, that the greatest fortunes can come from the most ordinary circumstances, and that sometimes the most life-changing discoveries are waiting patiently for someone patient enough and careful enough and determined enough to find them. These 13 coins represent the absolute pinnacle of what makes American numismatics so thrilling and so endlessly fascinating. Coins that prove beyond any question that the United States Mint has occasionally created specimens of such extraordinary rarity and such unprecedented value that they rival in importance and in desirability the most famous historical artifacts and the most valuable treasures in the entire world, coins that stand as monuments to the possibilities that exist when human error combines with mechanical precision to create something of transcendent and life-changing value. If you are currently holding any of the coins we have discussed today, if you have any nickels in your collection that might possibly be one of these rare and valuable specimens, if you have inherited coins or discovered coins that could potentially be a 2008 D or 1968 or 1974 or 2008 P or 1997 P or 1977 D or 1992 D or 2015 P or 2001 P or 1974 D or 1973 D or 1988 D Jefferson nickel, then you absolutely must take them to a professional grading service immediately and have them professionally authenticated, because the difference between an ordinary nickel and one of these extraordinary specimens is absolutely life-changing and absolutely worth investigating with the utmost urgency and seriousness. Thank you so much for staying with me throughout this entire incredible journey, for allowing me to tell you the stories of these remarkable coins, for understanding why collectors are so passionate about pursuing these treasures, and for recognizing that sometimes the greatest fortunes truly are hiding in plain sight, just waiting for someone like you to discover them and to change their entire life forever. And remember, the next coin you examine, the next nickel you check, could be the one. Could be the discovery that transforms everything. Could be the moment that changes your destiny forever. So always stay vigilant, always remain observant, and never stop searching, because out there somewhere, one of these coins is waiting for you.